Challenge of the GoBots, is an American animated series produced by Hanna-Barbera, based on the GoBots toy line released from Tonka. The show originally debuted in animated form as a 5-part miniseries, which aired in syndication from October 29 to November 2, 1984. A regular series followed the next year, premiering on September 16, 1985 as part of the weekday and weekend morning programming block The Funtastic World of Hanna-Barbera. The series was later rerun on the USA Cartoon Express. Summary: GoBots dealt with two opposing forces of transforming robots from the planet Gobotron, the heroic Guardians and the evil Renegades. The Guardians were led by Leader 1 while the Renegades were led by Sekill. The characters rarely had guns, instead shooting energy blasts out of their fists. The female robots on the series, such as Crusher, were built like the males, but with some distinguishing female features. The GoBots' origin as organic beings accounted for the presence of genders among the robots. The series generally focused on a small number of robots from each faction, who were virtually ever present, with other characters seeming to rotate in guest star roles. GoBots had no clear divide between the two factions. The characters had no identifying insignias or markings to indicate their allegiance, although it was indicated on the toy packaging. Likewise, there was no commonality of design within each faction. The only theme to a side was that anything that turned into a monstrous-looking robot or vehicle was a renegade. Plot: in the series' backstory, thousands of years ago on the planet Gobotron, there lived a race of human-like beings known as Go-Bings. Civil war erupted on the planet when the power-hungry terrorist group known as the Renegades arose, led by a madman dubbed the Master Renegade, who waged war against the peaceful Guardians. When a renegade sabotage operation inadvertently resulted in a gigantic asteroid colliding with Gobotron, the natural disasters that resulted from the asteroid's impact pushed the Go-Bings to the verge of extinction. However, the genius who became known as the Last Engineer saved his people, taking his experiments to replace parts of his own body with mechanical substitutes to the ultimate extent and transferring the Go-Bings' brains into large robot bodies known as GoBots. The GoBot forms possessed an additional ability. After being run through the device named the Modifier, the GoBots' bodies were able to transform into other vehicles. His work done, the Last Engineer intended to retreat to a pre-prepared workshop elsewhere in the galaxy, but the Master Renegade stole his ship and escaped in his stead. The Last Engineer placed himself into suspended animation beneath the surface of Gobotron, while above, the war continued to rage between the Guardians and the Renegades, now all encased in GoBot shells. In the last quarter of the 20th century, the planet Earth became involved in the conflict between Leader 1's Guardians and Sekill's Renegades. During one of these battles, one of Leader 1's lieutenants, Turbo, became severely damaged. Unwilling to let his friend and teammate die, Leader 1 began his quest to find the legendary Last Engineer. Leader 1 found the person he believed to be the Last Engineer, but Leader 1 had unwittingly released the Master Renegade. The Guardians later found the true Last Engineer, who was instrumental in frustrating the alliance between Sekill's Renegades and the Master Renegade. The Master Renegade later escaped the custody of the Renegades, and plagued both factions, notably attacking the Unicom colony of New Earth. Characters: Episodes: Battle for Gobotron, Target Earth, Conquest of Earth, Earthbound, The Final Conflict, It's the Thought That Counts, Renegade Alliance, Time Wars, Terror in Atlantis, Trident's Triple Threat, Lost on Gobotron, Sekill's Shrinking Ray, The Quest for Roguestar, Ultra Zod, Sentinel, Sekill's Cataclysmic Trap, Speed is of the Essence, Genius and Sun, Dawn World, Pacific Overtures, Forced Alliance, Invasion from the 21st Level. 1, Invasion from the 21st Level. 2, Doppelganger, Scooter Enhanced, Tarnished Image, Cold Spell, Crime Wave, Automatic, Renegade Rampage. 1 Renegade Rampage. 2, Search for the Ancient. Gobonauts, Game World, Wolf in the Fold, Depth Charge, Transfer Point, Steamer's Defection, The GoBot Who Cried Renegade, The Seer, Whiz Kid, Ring of Fire, Sekill's Escape, Quest for the Creator, The Fall of Gobotron, Flight to Earth. Return to Gobotron, destroy all Guardians, escape from Elba, fighter to the finish, Clutch of Doom, the third column, a new suit for Leader 1, Renegade Carnival, The Gift, Nova Beam, The Last Magic Man, Braxis Gone Bonkers, Inside Job, Element of Danger, Mission, Gobotron, A to C Kill? The GoBots The Time Forgot, The Secret of Halley's Comet, Guardian Academy, Quest for New Earth, Element of Doom. Cast: Arthur Burgart, Turbo, Frank Welker, Scooter, Blaster, Rescue, Screwhead, Zeman, Bernard Rudd, Sikill, Marilyn Lightstone, Crasher, Pathfinder, Bob Holt, Copter, Morgan Paul, Matt Hunter, Sparky Marcus, Nick Burns, Leslie Spates, A.J. Foster, Rena Copyright O'Bergenoy, Dr. Braxis Ken Campbell, Vanguard, Philip L. Clark, Dr. Go, Talk Peter Cullen, Pincher, Spoiler, Tank, Paul Iding, Scorp, Phil Hartman, Baron Von Joy, Richard Gautier, Bugsy, Brock Peters, General Newcastle, Peter Renaday, Master Renegade, Lou Richards, Junior Leader 1, B.J. Ward, Smallfoot, Kelly Ward, Fighter, Kirby Ward, Heatseeker. Production credits: Executive producers, Joseph Barbera and William Hanna, co-executive producer, Joe Torritoro, producer, Kay Wright, associate producer, Lou Saul, creative supervisor and story editor, Jeff Siegel, associate story editor, Kelly Ward, supervising director, Ray Patterson, directors, Art Davis, Oscar Dufau, Wallace Jones, Don Lusk, Rudy Zamora, Alan Zaslav, assistant directors, Robert Go, Bill Hutton, Rick Leon, Tony Love, Don Patterson, Tim Walker, for the Tonka Corporation, executive producer, Patrick S. Feely, producer, Lois Hanrahan, co-producer, Ray McDonald. Story direction, Robert Taylor, Kent Butterworth, Roy Wilson, Noiden Shishido, Michael Swanigan, Peter Von Scholly, Rich Cadlaw, Larry Latham, Marija Dial, Dale Barnhart, Tom Cito, George Scribner, Bill Crower, recording director, Gordon Hunt, assistant casting director, Andrea Romano, voices, Adrienne Alexander, Louis Arquette, Renee Aubergenoy, Beverly Banfield, Jard Barkley, Eddie Barth, Steve Buell, Arthur Burgart, Howard Kane, Bill Colloway, Ken Campbell, Philip Lewis Clark, Sellet Cole, Henry Corden, Regis Cordick, Peter Cullen, Jennifer Darling, Jerry Dexter, George DiCenzo, Richard Dysart, Paul Iding, Richard Gautier, Philip Hartman, Darrell Hickman, Bob Holt, Everman, David Jolliffe, Zale Kessler, Peter Leeds, Marilyn Lightstone, Norma Macmillan, Tress McNay, Sparky Marcus, Ken Mars, Gail Mathias, Bill Martin, Walter Matthews, Amanda McBroom, Joe Medlis, Alan Melvin, Scott Minville, Sidney Miller, Noel North, Soon Tech-O, Alan Oppenheimer, Laurel Page, Morgan Paul, Rob Paulson, Brock Peters, Peter Renaday, Lou Richards, Bob Ridgely, Josh Rodin, Shiva Ross, Marilyn Schwer, Michael Sheehan, Leslie Spates, Andre Stosher, Steve Siskind, Mark Taylor, Brian Tokai, Les Tremaine, Manu Tupac, B.J. Ward, Kelly Ward, Kirby Ward, Jimmy Weldon, Frank Welker, Eric Williams, Ko-Won Young, Ted Seigler. Title: Bill Perez. Graphics: Iraj Peran, Tom Welborsk. Music arranged and conducted by Hoyt Curtin. Music Supervisor: Paul DeCourty. Design Supervisor: Davis Doy. Character Design: Michael McHugh and Tony Scroy. Background Color Key: Eric Heishrong. Background Supervisor: Al Gmuer. Background Artists: Eric Heishrong, Mike Humphreys, James Hegdus. Produced and associated with Cuckoo's Nest, Wang Film Productions Company, Limited. Production Supervisor: Lynn Hogue. Technical Advisor: Bob Marples. Animation Supervisors: Richard Bowman, Gary Hurst, William Kitchen, Mark Simon. Sound Directors: Alvy Dorman, Phil Flad. Supervising Film Editor: Larry C. Cowman. Dubbing Supervisor: Pat Foley. Supervising Music Editor: Joe Sandusky. Supervising Effects Editors: Michael Bradley, Kerry Williams. Music and Effects: Vitello and Associates. Show editor, Gilbert Iverson. Negative consultant, William E. DeBoer. Post-production supervisor, Joe Deaton. Executives in charge of production, Jane Barbara and Gene McCurdy. A Hanna-Barbera production, this picture made under the jurisdiction of IATSEIA affiliated with AFL-CIO. A copyright 1985 Hanna-Barbera Productions, Incorporated. All rights reserved. GoBots names, characters and property are registered trademark under copyright 1985 Tonka Corporation. All rights reserved. Home media releases. On May 17, 2011, Warner Archive released Challenge of the GoBots, the original mini-series on DVD in Region 1 as part of their Hanna-Barbera Classics collection. This is a manufacture-on-demand release, available exclusively through Warner's online store and Amazon.com. On May 6, 2014, Warner Archive released Challenge of the GoBots the Series, Volume 1 on DVD in Region 1. The 3-disc set features the first 30 episodes of the series. The final volume Challenge of the GoBots the Series, Volume 2, which contains the remaining 30 episodes of the series, was released on March 10, 2015. The 1984 telefilm, Robo-Force, The Revenge of Nazca, is included as a special feature. Adaptations. The Japan-made cartoon Machine Robo, Revenge of Kronos was released in France as a sequel to the American series. The show was dubbed to take place in the future, and Fighter, Screwhead, and Seakill have reformed. A theatrical film version of the show GoBots, Battle of the Rock Lords was released in 1986, 1 month before the Transformers, the movie. Clips from the show were used in Errol Morris's Fast, Cheap and Out of Control. See also, GoBots, Battle of the Rock Lords, The Transformers. References. External links. Challenge of the GoBots, the original miniseries at wbshop.com, Challenge of the GoBots at the Internet Movie Database, Challenge of the GoBots at tv.com.